Welcome to Global News Network. My name is Oscar Rivera.
And I'm Jennifer Molina.
We're here at the GNN Center, and today's our topic question: is globalization good for the United States? I believe societies and cultures have become integrated through a global network of political ideas through transportation, trade, communication, and especially the spread of technology. For example, global communication such as the internet breaks down cultural boundaries across the world by enabling easy communication between people anywhere in a variety of digital forms and media. The internet is associated with the process of a cultural globalization because it allows interaction and communication between people with very different lifestyles and very different cultures. For example, YouTube and photo sharing websites allow interaction even where language would otherwise be a barrier. However, not everyone agrees with my perspective, such as a young social specialist from NYU, Jennifer Molina.
Good evening, everyone. Just as my colleague Mr. Rivera spoke about the positive aspects of globalization, there are negative consequences, as well as the direct and indirect impact globalization has on the American social life. Unregulated internet can affect the economy, the social, and the political issues around the world. This could be done through the course of rumors of social media, such as Facebook and Twitter. Since the internet cannot be regulated and is interconnected throughout the world, the misconduct of information can greatly affect a nation like the U.S. For example, the deregulation of global telecommunication can be such a powerful impact among a nation that the People's Republic of China has utilized internet censorship since 1993. Also, globalization has exported our jobs to other nations such as India and China, which are leading to the high unemployment in America. A prime example can be the situation in Detroit, our motor city, and how its downsizing has affected not only the city, but also hurting the nation's economy. It cannot compete with competitors such as Toyota or BMW, which are Japanese and German engineered. Another example from my colleague Richard Longworth is his book Caught in the Middle, which he writes about the Midwest economy that relies on agriculture and manufacturing. If you take farming away from the Midwest, not only do you hurt its economy, but you also strip them away from their identity. The importation of agriculture and overseas manufacturing is hurting these small-town Americans who cannot cope with the instability and insecurity globalization brings. They are practically left behind in the evolution of change.
I don't deny that jobs have been outsourced, but globalization has a positive impact because it enables the U.S. to increase trade and services, manufacturing, agriculture. It enables Americans to buy cheaper and more abundant consumer goods, and it creates more U.S. jobs such as translators, global consultants, and ESL teachers. Well, that is all we have in the social aspect of globalization today. Now we're going outside with our economy experts.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I'm former chief of IMF in 2008.
Hi, my name is Leopoldo Quintana. I am the former treasurer of the United States.
Today we're going to talk about globalization and the economy. Dating from the 1990s to the present day, globalization has proved to be economically beneficial for the United States through innovation, particularly in the telecommunications sector.
Globalization is an economic tidal wave that is sweeping over the world. It cannot be stopped, and there will be winners and losers. Globalization can be seen as a sign of hope for future by some, but by others, this is a disaster for the world economy. As stated by Revel, globalization simply means freedom of movement for goods and people, and it is hard to be violently hostile to that. Behind this fight lies an older and more fundamental struggle against economic liberalization, and against its chief representative thereof, which is the United States.
Well, globalization and improvement of the telecommunications sector have provided American corporations the means of communication that's both fast and efficient, which is crucial for companies to execute its purposes and economic benefits. Companies include Walmart, a multinational corporation, as well as the largest public corporation in terms of revenue in the United States. Fast and efficient communication has allowed Walmart to maintain and expand its business domestically by permitting financial transactions electronically, trade deals, etc. Without a global source such as communication, let alone quick transportation to maintain such a big American corporation, millions of Americans would be at loss of jobs. Walmart yearly provides more than 200,000 jobs, and in 2010 had the annual revenue of $258 billion in the United States.
Well, you have to keep in mind that while it's good for countries with tremendous growth such as China, it may not be good for America. America has always been outsourcing both manufacturing and white-collar jobs. In the service industries, high-paying jobs such as programmers, scientists, and medical technicians, as well as jobs done over the internet, have been outsourced to cheaper locations such as India. If you lose manufacturing or professional service jobs, the alternative is to take lower-paying service jobs, as is the reality of many Americans.
Well, telecommunications, like you're talking about telephones, internet, and the radio, has positively and significantly contributed to the United States economy. For example, in 2008, telecommunication accounted for $3.85 trillion in service revenue globally, in which a little over the third of this service revenue, $1.3 trillion, came from the United States.
Well, I would argue then that with such vast market telecommunication, our foreign competitors have access to our technologies, research, and development, which can cripple our manufacturing sector permanently. In addition, the American consumer society is focused only on buying the newest technology. Americans continue to consume without actually producing anything. Where is this money coming from?
You know, you really do have a good point. I mean, as a result, this behavior increases our trade deficit. We are playing right into the hands of our biggest competitor, like China, when we really should be doing everything in our power to not give them any advantage over us. The financial crisis, for example, caused large financial institutions to collapse or be bought out, and the government had to come up with rescue packages to bail out our financial systems.
Well, I guess we can both agree that this has affected the economy both positively and negatively.
Now on to politics.
Let's go.
Hi, I'm Cassidy Wolforth, former U.S. Representative to the UN.
And I'm Megan Lingo, former New York State Senator and now an independent consultant. Tonight we will be debating the effects of globalization on U.S. politics. We will focus on the IMF, the World Bank, and the image that our corporations have forced our politicians to reckon with. U.S.-led structural adjustment, organized through the IMF, has not always had a positive effect on international relations. Examples of this can be seen in Bolivia, Argentina, and Ecuador. The U.S. attempted to use a stagnant set of rules to bring about capitalism and democracy. This strategy tried to force one type of globalization on the world and ignored any political and cultural differences. As we all know, this structural adjustment failed, and these countries were not able to sustain their economies. This adjustment failure put a bad face on globalization and greatly decreased faith in U.S. economic hegemony.
You make a very strong point, Megan. However, you have left out many important factors. The IMF and the World Bank are two of the largest and most influential monetary institutions in the world and are run by the United States government. While they have made a few errors in judgment, they give the United States a stronger say in world issues. The United States has the power to spread American values and political ideals to other countries. Also, globalization has allowed the U.S. to help businesses in the developing world and give those states more incentive to become democratic, while at the same time growing businesses at home. The African Growth and Opportunity Act is an example of this. The act allows countries in sub-Saharan Africa access to U.S. markets with little or no tariffs, as well as providing incentive for U.S.-based businesses to expand to African markets and employ African labor. The United States opens their markets to countries that have shown themselves to be a stable democratic state with low human rights violations, furthering our global economy. Ghana and Togo are two countries that have benefited from this greatly.
I completely agree with you that U.S. involvement in institutions such as AGOA has boosted popularity and also lended a hand to the developing world. However, I must point out that your arguments ignore the dark side of U.S. involvement in the developing world. Let's look at Latin America as an example. The United States is engaged with what scholars have termed the race to the bottom. We are driving down wage rates and working conditions throughout Latin America by forcing these countries to compete for U.S. corporate presence. And let's not forget the prevalence of sweatshop labor in U.S. corporations. Major companies such as Target, The Gap, and Forever 21 have all been found guilty of using sweatshop labor. You cannot ignore the irony in these indiscretions. The U.S. is supposed to stand for equal rights and democracy, yet we're actively exploiting the developing world. It's difficult to coerce countries to cooperate politically with us when the entire world knows that we have a history of exploiting our allies.
Unfortunately, much of this is true. Globalization has brought positive and negative effects for the United States politically. We are able to spread our values across nations, but that unfortunately sometimes leads to poor leadership in those nations. This has been a very interesting debate. Thanks to all who participated. We hope our viewers have learned a few new factors of globalization affecting our country today. You stay classy, Santa Barbara.
Thanks for stopping by!
But you stay classy.